Sarah, we know by now that the Nets and Joe Johnson came to terms on a buyout. He is going to be a gain for some contender out there. But what are the Nets going to miss about Joe on the floor?
Say it ain't so, Rooks. I'm bummed to see Joe leave, but as you said, it's the Nets doing right by Joe Johnson for all that he has been for this team and just for the professional he's been as a Net throughout his entire tenure here. And you talk about what Joe has done on the floor. Of course, we remember so many of those game winners and buzzer beaters, but particularly this season, despite some of his struggles at times, he is a guy who always commanded a double team. He was always a presence, a threat for the Nets on the floor. And, you know, since the start of January, he really started shooting so much more effectively from the field, from the three-point line. Under Tony Brown, they were running their offense through Joe. He became such a facilitator. And I tease because, of course, we will miss the Joe Johnson that we were able to cover as a media. But his teammates, of course, will miss him, particularly Brook Lopez, who has been with him throughout his entire time here in Brooklyn.
You know, it's tough. You know, obviously, you know, it's a business, and you know, we want what's best for him at the end of the day. But you know, he's you know, absolutely one of the best teammates I ever played with, and you know, fortunately, he left us with a lot of good memories, lots of great buzzer beaters. You know, all the way up to that last Denver one. You know, he's just a guy who was you enjoyed being out on the court with, and he definitely tried to make everyone better.
I think this is all starting to build that culture, build that trust amongst guys. Again, you mentioned it before, just doing the right thing. But again, it takes two to do that. And Joe was willing, and he wanted to do it, and he worked with us. So it's good for him and his agent as well.
Good for him, and I think, of course, as Sean Marks had alluded to, this Nets team understood what Joe had given to them and wanted to make sure, as Sean Marks had told Michael Kay on the radio earlier today, Joe did give back about $3 million, and he wants to play on a winning team as the season continues. And so there will be some changes for the Nets and potentially, Ryan, changes in the approaches, as we spoke with Tony Brown earlier. You'll hear from him a little bit later in the show. Bojan Bogdanovic will get the start in place of Joe Johnson, but now it's about really auditioning some of these young players, seeing what the guys bring to the table, allowing Sean Marks to see more of the personnel, and just making determinations on what they want to do as he continues to pave the way for the type of future he wants to see out of this Nets group.